Quiet.
Mr. President-elect,
Go ahead.
can you state
She's asking a
categorically,
question. Don't
Mr.
be
President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be
You are
rude.
attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
Can
No,
you
I'm
give
not
us a
going to give you a
question?
question. I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir. I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Dave versus the MSM. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for networking this information because it's up to you. I know it's a burden, but it's up to you to network it because it surely isn't going to be networked through this platform. We are heavily suppressed. The fact that you're even here means you've already run through already a number of barriers to get to our content because notifications are not set out, view counts are suppressed. They do everything in their power to make sure that my voice is not heard by you and our content. Why is that? I am told by some insiders, some whistleblowers actually, it's because our content is so effective at taking out the syndicate's operations. And you are an incredible, important component to the success of taking down the syndicate, to end their reign of terror. And their reign of terror has occurred not as an accident, not as a set of bad coincidences or bad set circumstances or from incompetence. It's all willful and it's all planned. And their goal is a stripping of the freedom and liberty of every person in our country and every person around the world. It's important we know who our adversaries are. And this is not name calling, it's facts. They are, with a capital E, evil, and they are psychopaths. And what really, really bothers them and gets to them and scares them is something called oppositional defiance. Oppositional defiance. So let's define the landscape. Dr. Toby Rogers recently said the following, quote, "Our society is now a strange hybrid of the Middle Ages, the Third Reich, and the Brave New World. We now have two classes, lords and peasants. Their goal has always been to obliterate the middle class. Well, they've been pretty successful. We are in the midst of a very profitable genocide, and it's all infused with surveillance technology, mind-altering drugs, and wall-to-wall propaganda." And the bottom line, folks, is the syndicate. Right? It's all the same. Globalist syndicate, globalist cult, New World Order crowd, criminal international banking syndicate, deep state, shadow government, it's all the same. The syndicate wants you silent, it wants you in fear, because with fear you become paralyzed, and it wants you unengaged. It doesn't want you. It wants you locked down. And even better if you can do a self-imposed lockdown. We saw a lot of that over the past, 5 years with their whole operation, right? They detest opposition because they don't really know how to handle it. On a mass scale, they have no way of handling it. That's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of accountability. They're afraid of transparency. And they're afraid of opposition. According to the anthropological, and this is from L. Reichard White, according to the anthropological literature, our ancestors and founders of our constitutional republic would have nearly all been diagnosed with something called ODD. That's oppositional defiant disorder. That is, our distant relatives had serious, quote, problems with authority, end quote. In other words, they had problems with being told what to do. That being said, let's jump to modern civilized man and woman. Bob Altemeyer, Associate Professor, Department of Psychology, University of Manitoba, measured the human tendency to be what he calls, quote, authoritarian followers, end quote. Authoritarian followers are pretty much what they sound like. They're folks who have strong tendencies to blindly follow asserted authorities, especially official authorities, and adhere strongly to conventional notions. Think about the past 5 years with this and this, right? When none of this or this made any sense about their recommendations, the authoritarian followers, of which it appeared to be about 80% of the population, fell under the category of. But 20%, which is far greater than what the syndicate thought. They thought maybe 1%, maybe 20%. It was the 20% of those that were oppositionally defiant that saved this, not just this country, the world. That is not an overstatement. They exposed it all. Yes, we did. And we blew apart their entire operation. The key to end this reign of terror is transparency and accountability. Accountability of those globalist puppets. And one way to do that is to ask questions. But not just to ask questions, to demand answers, to hold their feet to the fire. From Steve Watson, quote, here's a good question. Who's running the country? Biden's been on the beach for weeks. In fact, I actually made some inquiries into Washington. 40.3% of the time Joe Biden was supposedly going to be wandering around the Oval Office, he was on vacation. So the question is, well, wait, no, he wasn't. Because they were coming up with these dictatorial policies and mandates. Where was that? Who was doing it? Joe Biden has been on a holiday for a week in Santa Barbara, California. Now he's returned to Delaware for another 9-day holiday, prompting Americans to ask, who's running the country? Well, let's give you some answers. The deep state has been running the country since they installed Biden. It doesn't make one iota a difference whether Pudding Brain is in D.C. or on vacation. He's never been anything but a pathetic, toxic figurehead. Yep, and that's just what they ordered. And their speed bump to their complete takeover is the Constitution, because there's still a relatively small number of judges that are actually adhering to the Constitution. There's a couple, just a couple, in Congress that are adhering to the Constitution. But their goal of you not being able to ask any questions, let alone demand answers, is to get rid of the Constitution. Don't believe me? Berkeley Law School dean, no less. Constitution's outdated. It actually threatens the United States. What's this guy been smoking? The globalist bong is what he's been smoking. Berkeley Law School Dean Erwin Cherminsky promoting his very patriotic book, No Democracy Lasts Forever, How the Constitution Threatens the United States. Wow, there's a classic for you. Recently penned an op-ed and appeared on no less than MSNBC, MSDNC, MS Obama, to float the idea that we need to toss out the United States Constitution, arguably the most eloquent and functional, if imperfect, governing document ever written, which every Western nation has modeled their own on, and replace it with something a little more democratic. Okay, great. Yeah, like democratic, like you install somebody as your nominee that wasn't on anybody's ballot. That's democratic. But they avoid transparency at every turn. They hide. Look at Joe Biden's campaign in 2020. He hid in the basement. Wow, the Svengulis came up with his policies. Hid in the basement. And when he did venture out, shuffle out, right, he had 6 or 8 people at every one of his events. Well, Kamala learned from that, actually, so what she's doing is she's hiring people. They're paying them $150 a piece to show up at her events. They still can generate only a couple hundred at her events. And she's hiding. What, they wanted to do 3 debates? Trump agreed to 3? No, maybe 1, maybe. We'll see. But she's hiding from the media. CNN Kamala Harris interview, which she finally did, she had to have Tim Walz at her side. There's a strong woman for you. It was a 40-minute interview. Refused to do it live, had to do it taped. Of the 40 minutes, only 16 minutes were released. And they refused to release a transcript or the entire footage. Yeah. Colin Rugg, a political analyst, said the recap of Kamala Harris' interview with CNN's Dana Bash. Oh, she's a real piece of work as well. 1. Kamala said Trump is to blame for why she didn't take action on the southern border for 3 years. Okay, sister. 2. Kamala says she wants to drill baby drill now. But wait a minute, she said she was going to ban fracking before. She also said she pushed the Green New Deal throughout Congress. Tim Walz says he's proud of his service after getting called out for lying about it. Can you say stolen valor? Mm-hmm. Kamala says the U.S. needs to close the page on the last 10 years, but wait a minute. She's either been a senator or, for the last 3.5 years, the vice president of the United States. Yeah, she wants to hide it. Yeah, there's that whole transparency thing, right? Kamala says she's proud that she and Biden lowered inflation to a level that is still way higher than before they took office. Right, when they took office, inflation was 1.4%. What is it now? Well, government figures, 2.5, 2.6, 2.4. But in actuality, you look at shadow stacks, just go to the grocery store or pump gas. What's it up? 20-some% since they took office? 30%? 50% in some states? Some situations? Kamala said she has no regrets about covering up Biden's mental decline. What a train wreck. Yeah, it was a train wreck. But the key is we need to realize who we're actually dealing with here. Who to direct this oppositional defiance at. And I've talked about this before, clinically. They are psychopaths. They are psychopaths. And they will do anything and everything to preserve and hold and control power and people. Just look at the whole goat rodeo, Afghanistan, right? 3 years ago, when we fled Afghanistan, we left thousands of Americans and folks that were loyal to America behind. They don't want to admit that, but it's true. My sources in the State Department have told me that. We left tens of billions of dollars of ordnance and armaments there. Now they're doing parades, right? The Taliban with our stuff, right? And we put every service member that was there left upon that hasty exit in harm's way, and 13 lost their lives, of which Joe Biden and Kamala Harris refused to say their names or call their families or write letters to their families. So there was a ceremony that the families worked on and produced at Arlington about a wreath laying on the 3rd anniversary of their loved ones' deaths, that were the 13 who had died. And they asked President Trump to be there for the wreath-laying ceremony and to participate. Gold Star families had trouble getting Trump, and this shows how desperate they are and what the lengths they will go to, the depths they will go to preserve their power. Gold Star families had trouble getting Trump into Arlington until House Speaker intervened. This is from the Daily Caller. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson had to intervene to get former President Donald Trump into Arlington National Cemetery for the 3rd anniversary of the Afghanistan withdrawal with Gold Star families. The Gold Star families who lost their children during the Biden administration's withdrawal from Afghanistan invited Trump to Arlington National Cemetery. He laid a wreath there for the 13 service members who were killed serving the country in Afghanistan. However, a Gold Star family told the caller that Arlington National Cemetery was trying to make it difficult for former president to appear for the ceremony to honor their children, something that the families had requested. And then Kamala stepped up with her totalitarian thug mentality and put out a press release about how it was inappropriate for Trump to be there, and criticized the Gold Star families for having him there. Gold Star families slammed Kamala Harris for playing politics over Trump's visit to Arlington National Cemetery. Gold Star father said that Harris's statement was heinous, vile, and disgusting. Yeah, that about sums up the globalist syndicate. Heinous, vile, and disgusting. But it's key, calling them out, because it's what they fear. They fear transparency. They fear accountability. They want you mute. They want you silent. They want you locked down. They want you in fear. They want you unengaged. And you need to be all of the above. Engaged. Fearless. Speaking out. Oppositionally defiant, as this dad was. Gold Star father said Harris's statement was heinous, vile, and disgusting. Gold Star families, this from Andrea Vacaccio. Gold Star families who lost loved ones in the botched Afghanistan withdrawal blasted Kamala Harris over attack on former President Trump for his visit to Arlington National Cemetery. Harris accused Trump of playing politics with the visit, but in a series of short videos, 8 families said that they had invited Trump, and bitterly blasted Biden-Harris administration over the disastrous pullout that left 13 U.S. service members dead 3 years ago. Earlier, on Saturday, August 31st, the vice president criticized Trump's team for taking photographs and videos at a wreath-laying ceremony event. The Gold Star family members maintained that they had invited Trump to attend to lay the wreath and asked Trump for photographs. As opposed to Trump taking pictures to advance his campaign. In one video, the father of Marine Lance Corporal Jared Schmitz called Harris's post heinous, vile, and disgusting. Oppositional defiance. Why did we want Trump there? It wasn't to help his political campaign, Mark Schmitz said in a video. We wanted a leader. That explains why you and Joe did not get a call. The syndicate does not want you oppositionally defiant. It is the key to end their reign of terror. Hit them with accountability. Hit them with transparency. Hit them with the truth. Hit them with oppositional defiance. Engage. It's key. We do it peacefully. We do it patriotically. But we're not mute. We're not silent. And that's what they fear. Darren Hoover, the father of Marine Sergeant Taylor Hoover, said that Harris lacks, quote, empathy and basic understanding. They're psychopaths. He just called them out. Psychopaths. A lack of empathy and understanding about the memorial event, and stressed that Trump's appearance was respectful. And then we have this out of the globalist shill organization, the UN. UN's globalist elite in panic. Undercover video shows UN official admits they're, quote, terrified of a second Trump term. If it occurs, he doubts in the institution's, the UN's survival. And revealed that the UN is 95% useless in maintaining global peace. Yeah, that's true. Look at their track record. From Jim Hoff, in a damning revelation, an undercover video released by Louder with Crowder's undercover unit has exposed the United Nations' deep-rooted fears of a second term for former President Donald Trump. The undercover video features Jorge Pilate, an associate legal officer in the treaty section of the UN's Office of Legal Affairs. He openly admitted that the UN is, quote, terrified of another Trump's administration, and that the organization's globalist ambitions directly clash with Trump's America First policies. Quote, one of the main enemies of the MAGA movement are what they call globalists. I'm the definition of a globalist. I'm not sure the United Nations as an institution is going to survive a second term of Donald Trump, end quote. Pilates' admissions didn't stop there. He went on to reveal the globalism is not just a vague idea, but a concrete goal of the United Nations. He explains that one of the UN's objectives is to foster a global identity where individuals see themselves as part of a planetary community rather than as citizens of a particular nation. And they will stop at nothing, including another violent event against a former president or his family so that they maintain power and control. You see, folks, it's critical that each and every one of us be oppositionally defiant. Peacefully, but we must be oppositionally defiant. That means taking information like this video and all of our content at davejanda.com, which is uncensored and unsuppressed at davejanda.com. And I go into detail and information that I cannot go into on any social media platform or on the radio because of the choke points. This platform is heavily suppressed. Why? Because we're not controlled. We're not owned. We don't have any financial sugar daddies or mommies. We have subscribers who pay 30 cents a day to cover the overhead so that we can deliver this information to you. Granted, the subscription content puts you years ahead of the curve and protects people. Our subscribers tell me that our content has saved their lives, their families' lives. That's not hyperbole. It's the truth. And I can only parse out a little bit of that information on public platforms because of the suppression and the censorship and the takedowns that occur. It's critical that each and every one of us take information and provide it to all those we know and love and work with and live near, because they're not going to get it from any other source. Drive them back to davejanda.com. It's all there. Become a member of our freedom family. 30 cents a day. Biggest bang for the buck in all the internet. Sign up for a month. If you don't like it, you can get rid of it, but you won't. Because the information puts you years ahead of the curve so that you can protect yourself and your family and your loved ones. I thank you for joining me today. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thanks for your time today.